human rights in the kingdom to be an interference in its affairs that requires what it calls a sharp response. It has expelled the Canadian ambassador and recalled its envoy from Ottawa. Its state-owned airline has suspended direct flights to Toronto. The government says it will end trade and investment ties. It all began with a tweet from Canada's Foreign Affairs Ministry stating concerns over Saudi Arabia Rights Act and demanding their immediate release. One of those activists mentioned in that tweet is Samar Badawi. A relative of Canadian citizens, Badawi and fellow activist Nasima Al-Saad were arrested last month. Badawi is the recipient of the 2012 International Women of Courage Award, who's known for challenging Saudi Arabia's male guardianship system. She is the sister of blogger Raif Badawi and the former wife of lawyer Walid Abu Al-Khair, who are both serving lengthy jail terms in Saudi prisons. The Canadian foreign minister says her country will not back down.
We will always speak up for human rights. We will always speak up for women's rights around the world. And I do also want to say, when it comes to the Badawi family, Ensaf Haidar is a Canadian citizen, and she and her family therefore merit special attention from the Government of Canada. And a lot of Canadian civil society has been speaking up for her. It's something that we do. We stand up for Canadians and their families around the world.
Earlier on Monday, Saudi Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir tweeted saying, "The kingdom doesn't interfere in the affairs of other countries, and we will not accept any interference attempts. We will deal with this firmly." The surprising Canadian stance is based on misleading information. The prosecution of those mentioned is subject to our judicial systems that guarantee their rights. Saudi authorities have arrested a number of people in recent days. More than a dozen women's rights campaigners were detained in May on charges of undermining national security. Some have since been released. Dozens of clerics have also been arrested, including leading preachers Salman al-Auda, Awad al-Qarni, and Safar al-Hawali. Several high-profile human rights activists are in jail, and some have been referred to a counterterrorism tribunal for trial. And Saudi Arabia has imprisoned nearly all the founders of the banned Saudi Civil and Political Rights Association. All right, let's bring in our panel. Joining us in London, Rathna Begum, a senior researcher in women's rights at Human Rights Watch. In Leeds, Sultan Barakat, director of the Center for Conflict and Humanitarian Studies at the Doha Institute. And in Washington, D.C., Imad Harb, director of research and analysis at the Arab Center, Washington, D.C. Welcome to you all. Rathna, I want to start with you. We are really in uncharted territory these days when it comes to detention of activists in Saudi Arabia. I mean, there was a time not that long ago when the arrest of so many prominent women might be viewed as something that would engender a lot of anger in Saudi society. Isn't that the case?
Absolutely. This is an unprecedented and unrelenting crackdown on all forms of dissent and criticism in the country. Now, the difference this time is that it's highly unusual for the Saudi authorities, one, actually detain the activists and at the same time take credit for their reforms. In previous times, of course, they've arrested and harassed and intimidated activists, but never in a manner in which there was a concerted campaign of arrests. Before, it was always in relation to something. So the women defied the driving ban, so they were arrested. So it was sudden acts that led to them actually being arrested. This time round, they were rounded up and arrested in the middle of the night from their homes in such a concerted way with a smear campaign, something we've not seen before either. Saudi authorities are launching a very social media campaign to malign the reputation within Saudi Arabia, and at the same time trying to make sure that they have a PR savvy campaign in order to ensure that the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is able to take full credit for the reforms that these women have been championing for years.
Imad, let me ask you, does this, crackdown and also this rift now with Canada, does this have a risk at all of backfiring on Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman from either inside or outside the kingdom?
Well, tell you the truth, I mean, how can it not backfire on him? Unfortunately, this is an almost irrational action. I mean, it's just an emotional impulse, and he acted on it. I don't think that it really makes his case any better domestically or internationally for what he says.